all on the Black Voters Matter tour bus once again with LaTosha Brown and Cliff Albright. It was their bus full of seniors that was prevented. Those seniors were prevented from voting the other day in Georgia. LaTosha and Cliff join us once again on the bus tour. Good morning to you both. How are you both doing this morning?
We're a little worn out, but it's been an emotional week. We had everything from the emotions of voter suppression in Jefferson County to the emotions of delivering hurricane relief supplies in 5 counties in Southwest Georgia. And so emotional for a bunch of different reasons. But it's been great. Like you said, we got 19 days left until we make some history.
And we appreciate all you all are doing. So what, LaTosha? What happened the other day? Can you describe it for us?
I can. So we went down to Louisville, Georgia, which is in Jefferson County. It's in East Georgia. It's a rural community. We were invited down there by a wonderful woman, Dr. Diane Evans, who is a community leader. She's a pastor. She's in Delta Sigma Theta, very active in her community. And so we went and had a meeting at the senior center that was there, the leisure center. And this is just an activity. It's a community center that seniors, some of them drive themselves, some of them get transportation, some of them get dropped off. But these are able-bodied seniors that actually come to the center and do a variety of activities or programs. And so the program, so what we did is we went and we had a beautiful time. You can almost say we had revival. We sang songs, we talked, we prayed, we told them a little bit about the work we were doing, and we shared. And then as we were going outside, like they wanted to see the bus because everybody wants to see the Black Voters Matter bus. So we went outside, they saw the bus, and we wound up having a pep rally of sorts. We danced and sang. They had an excellent time, and they had made a decision. There was a van that was going to take 10 of them. There was 10 of them going to go vote, but they were so motivated by our presentation and meeting us that almost 40 of them said, "No, we want to go vote right now. Y'all going to the polls, which were going right by." We was like, "Yeah, sure." And so they decided. They asked us if they could get on the bus and they could ride, and they were going to go to the polls. And we get on the bus, which is, anybody in our community knows, that's a tradition in our community. That's what we do.
Right.
And so they get on the bus. As we're getting on the bus, we're all excited. Everybody is sitting down and we're singing and doing our chants, and we're headed out. And just as the bus gets pulled off, it gets stopped. And our organizer, Ms. Diane, she went out to see what the director, while she was stopping the bus. And when she went out to see what happened, they said that the seniors could not go. And we were like, "What do you mean the seniors can't go?" And that someone, this is what was told us at the time, that someone had passed by the center, saw the seniors, saw these people getting on this bus, had called the county commissioner's office, and the county commissioner called the director and said these folks couldn't go. And so because we are very sensitive, those of us that work in communities, we're very sensitive around how the dynamics are in those communities. At that particular time, we went at the advice with our organizer who said, "Let's just get off the bus and we're going to deal with this." And that's what we did. They got off the bus, and they were even more determined and said they were going to vote. They weren't even shocked about what that was about.
Yeah.
And so some of them, they got off the bus, and then some of them went immediately to the bus behind us. That was supposed to be, it was a smaller bus behind us so they could go vote. So they got on, they loaded on there. So while we're standing out there talking to try to figure out what exactly happened, we see them unload the bus. And we said, "Well, why are they getting off the bus?" They said they're not taking them today. They're going to take them another day. So the whole circumstance, the whole situation was, how can one person, and subsequent to that, we actually went back down there, and Cliff could talk more about that. We went back down there yesterday. We went into the county commissioner's office because we wanted to figure out why did they think that they had the right to prevent seniors from going to vote on their own, with able-bodied human beings, to be able to go vote on their own volition. Like, what is it that made him think, this one white man, think that he had the right to make this call and this decision for these other seniors?
And the power and the authority. to do that? What
and the power and the authority. And the insanity about it is, in our conversation with him, and Cliff can talk more about that, is that it's racism and paternalism is so ingrained in these rural communities, they are almost offended when you challenge or you check their leadership.
When you ask a question. So what happened after that, Cliff? So he says they can't come in and vote.
Yeah, so like LaTosha said, we just told them that they could go on and get off, and and they got fired up about coming back and telling all their friends, because they had already committed to telling 5 friends, but all of them got off saying, now we could have to tell 10 each or 20 each. We're just going to tell everybody. So since that time, most, if not all, those people have gone on and voted. A couple got in their cars and just went that day, right? And then some went the next day, and then some went the day after that, which was yesterday, when we went back for a rally that the community called to deal with this issue and to help amplify this issue. So we showed up at the rally, and then that's when we went in and decided, since the county administrator, whose name is Albright, who, by the way, if you look at his Facebook page, it's real interesting. He's got these posts talking about how he believes in limited government, talking about, when's the last time big government could get anything done right. So evidently his belief in limited government does not preclude him from believing in government that's big enough to keep some black folks from getting on the bus to go vote. But as LaTosha says, just the attitude of, and they even said at one point, if y'all had just, we need to vet y'all. Anytime you want to come, just let us know. Well, why we got to let you know when we want to come to Jefferson County? Like LaTosha asked them, who do you ask? Who do you call and ask for permission when you go to Atlanta? And his response was, well, I don't go to Atlanta. But just the paternalism and the racism that lets them believe that we need to call them and ask for permission. Or
before
even
we
just
come
to
to
get
the county. He didn't even say
before we come to the county. Right, not even specifically to give folks a ride to the poll, but his position was, even if we're coming to the county to do whatever, that just let us know so we can vet you.
Well, what is vet? Vet how? What do you mean by vetting?
Well, it's
exactly
real.
What we said. That's exactly what we said. The one thing that I do want to raise, I think that is interesting, is this particular rally and this work was nonpartisan. We can do partisan and nonpartisan because we're C4, but this was a nonpartisan rally because that was our mission, was to connect, and we would connect with our people and really just lift up that it was early voting and the importance of voting. But what was interesting that he said was that Dr. Evans, who was the reason why, and he actually had the audacity to put this in their official response to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, that he actually said that because she was the chair of the Democratic Party, I mean, quite frankly, I didn't even know she was the chair of the Democratic Party when I went down there, but so what? She's also a Delta. She's also a pastor. He's a Republican. So at the end of the day, the fact that she was the chair of the Democratic Party, he said, was what gave him pause that this was a political rally. And so what? Who was he to make that decision and that call of 40 able-bodied people? But now he can censor who we talk to and who they engage with?
Yeah. Well, so now, Dr. Evans, you all spoke with her. She went on record. I want the audience to hear what she had to say. This is Dr. Evans right outside the Black Voters Matter bus.
The director told her we were coming, and so they're just mad. And these are just some of these opposition. This is a nonpartisan activity here. And it's not like I have on today, of course, Black Voters Matter, and it's a nonpartisan activity that we're taking these citizens over to vote, and they elected to ride the bus, and then they're the ones that got on the bus, and they were motivated to get on it, and for them to be asked to get off, and these are citizens that vote, they're taxpayers, just like I'm a taxpayer, and for them not to call me, and I have talked to a commissioner, I am upset myself, and this is voter suppression.
Right. Can you tell us what happened? Because some of the folks tuned in a little bit late. Can you just repeat?
What happened is somebody.
Tell us where we are now.
Where we are now is at the citizens now from the senior citizen center is now getting on the transportation that the commissioners are provide, and they are now getting on the transportation. And now what they're doing, they're getting off because they're saying that they're watching me. Like, who am I? You're watching me, Diane Evans, and now they're going to say that I have influenced them to go, that they're going to go on another day, that they're not going to go and vote today. They're going to go vote another day because they have tied into lunch hour, but they're also getting off the transportation bus, and that these voters, citizens, are now going to go on another day, and that the commissioner, the city manager has elected for them to get off the bus, and now that they're going to be able to go on another day instead of today.
So someone called you and said they had to get off?
No, they called the director of the center and told them to get off. They didn't call me. Oh no, they didn't. They wouldn't dare even address me, but I will be addressing them.
What is your position with that?
That's Dr. Evans, who was a leader in the Democratic Party down there. The white man that wouldn't let you all vote, wouldn't let the seniors vote. How did he recognized her? He knew who she was, or what?
Not that he recognized her, he knew her. Part of the reason why we know that this is part of what counties deal with. He made an assumption because he knows she's connected with the Democratic Party.
Right.
Quite frankly, we didn't have any dealings with the Democratic Party. We didn't call the Democratic Party.
Right,
we didn't
right.
connect with them. That's one hat that she wears. That had nothing to do. This is a black woman who is an activist, who is a member of Delta Sigma Theta, who is a community leader, who wears multiple hats because she got it going on. We connected to her based on her community service, not the fact that she was a Democrat. He made a determination and an assumption because he knew her as being affiliated with the Democratic Party, and because he made that connection, that assumption, he felt he had the right to infringe on the voting rights of those seniors.
LaTosha, you said a few times she's a Delta. Is there a reason you keep saying that? You said
my wife's a Delta.
I love the sisters of Delta Sigma Theta. I love the sisters.
Are you a Delta? Are you a Delta, LaTosha?
I am not.
Okay, all right. I thought maybe you were Delta, where you was talking about the Deltas like that.
No, but I will tell you the way on this tour, those sisters have been showing up in mass everywhere we go. They've been doing the work, so I will give a shout. Those are some hard-working sisters. That's all I can say.
And my wife's a Delta, so I can say that I love me some Deltas too.
I know that's right. Yeah, well, no, you don't have no choice, my brother. But but you're saying that even after this, some of the people were able to vote. But what else happened in the aftermath? Because this got a lot of press. It got a lot of coverage. Was that official who kept the seniors from voting, Cliff? And by the way, folks, LaTosha Brown and Cliff Albright, the Black Voters Matter bus was the bus that was full of seniors that were stopped from voting, were not allowed to vote in Georgia today. You may have heard the story, ladies and gentlemen, 20 minutes past the hour. Was the official who prevented them from voting, was he reprimanded or anything, Cliff?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, and let me add here, we need to definitely give a shout out to Legal Defense Fund because they stepped in immediately. They got some information. They put together a letter which they sent to that county administrator and to the full county commission, outlining the various ways that this was problematic and illegal and a violation of voting rights, and calling for the county administrator to resign. And so we just want to lift that up. We believe that's part of the reason why they ultimately, the county administrator had to admit to the media that he did in fact make the call, because at first they weren't trying to admit that the call was made. They were trying to act like, because people called down once the first story went out, people called and were trying to get confirmation, and they were acting like, oh, we don't know anything about it, right? But ultimately he came out and did the release admitting that he was the one who made the call. So not only has he not been not resigned or been fired or reprimanded, but while we were there yesterday, the commission chairperson, and it's the county commission that hires the county administrator. So he was acting on behalf of the county commission. But while we were there meeting with them, the commission chair came in and gave his full throttle support of the county administrator, and then kept trying to brush us off by just referring us to the official statement that they released. I will add this: while we were having this discussion inside the commission office, at two different occasions, a police officer and then three different sheriffs deputies tried to come into the office building where the conversation was taking place in the lobby, and their attitude was very aggressive. And I will point this out. I'll say this much: the commission chair told them that they weren't needed inside. Right. The main reason he said that, we believe, is because we had reporters that were still with us who had video cameras and were writing down notes. And so the point is that this happens in rural counties like this on a daily basis.
Yeah.
During election cycles, during off years, when nobody's looking, like this happens. We could drive this bus around to any one of these rural communities on any one of these early vote days and see some type of voter suppression just like this.
Yeah.
And that response that we saw of those officers trying to bum rush that office, right, and being so aggressive, that's also a response that you find. It's that them coming to that office wasn't just about them trying to intimidate us out of that commission office. It was about them sending a message to any other black person in that county that if y'all want to try to ask some questions and come up in this commission office, this is what we got waiting for you. We were able to survive it without incident,
right,
because of who we are and who we have with us. But imagine that you're just an individual in that county.
Right. And that obviously happens on a regular basis to individuals.
That's right.
And these individuals, these white individuals who are in these commission seats or these whatever these seats are able to make arbitrary and subjective decisions like that. Just do whatever they want to do.
Exactly. And I mean, Mark, the irony around it is he felt completely justified. He talked about the seniors as if they were little children.
Yes.
He said, I didn't see. I didn't know who y'all were. Now, the fact that they had, if you want to talk about vetting, we had spent an hour with them. So they had plenty of time to vet us.
Right.
Secondly, if we went outside and actually had a rally with them, they had time at that point to vet us. So at that point, they knew that they felt comfortable with us. They trusted us. They wanted to be with us, right? It's amazing that this one white man thought because he didn't know us that his judgment could override the judgment of 40 people. Probably some of them have probably taken care of him.
Right. Well, but you're not adults. We aren't adults. Y'all were just a bunch of kids on a bus.
As a matter of fact, it's interesting because as he was talking about how they would have vetted us, right, in the proper ways that we could have come in. One of the things he said, and he kept saying this several times. He was talking about the head of the NAACP, and he said, if you had come in through Mr. Charlie. If you had just come in through Mr. Charlie, then we would have known that you're okay. He said this he said it twice.
Whoa. The head of the NAACP ain't named, is his name Mr. Charlie?
No, that's what I'm trying to get to. His name is Charlie.
No, his name is Charlie. His name is Charlie.
Lord have mercy. Lord, he said that. That's unbelievable.
Right. And
so if the head of the NAACP, but the NAACP is nonpartisan. You all didn't have Democratic Party on the side of the bus. It says Black Voters Matter. It doesn't say Democratic Party.
That's the issue. But that's the issue. It's not about whether it was partisan or not. It was about what perspective you were coming from, right? Because in other words, if you're somebody who's associated with somebody that we view to be safe, right? Because evidently, Mr. Charlie in this county is viewed as one of the good Negroes, right? And so if you're one of the ones who's associated with one of our safe black folks, then we might vet you as being okay. But if you're affiliated with that no good Dr. Evans who's fighting for social justice and right. then oh no, then you're problematic. The last thing I just want to say on that point is because LaTosha was saying that he did it. He made an assumption. He did more than make an assumption. He overrode the opinion of the black center director, who he made the call to, because according to her, in our meeting with them, she said, I told him that your presentation was great. She said, I told him that your presentation was nonpartisan.
Right.
Now, she was saying this in the context of as she was trying to defend him, but what she was saying, unbeknownst to her, was that she gave him the information that it was nonpartisan and that it had nothing to do with Dr. Evans.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
so he in spite of her saying that, he still made the call and gave the order for the seniors to come off the bus.
Real life, real time voter suppression right here in America going on because they don't want a black woman to be elected governor. They don't want us to win. We got to keep fighting, folks. So now, where are you all today again?
We are actually rolling towards Mississippi. So we're doing a little shift today. We're rolling to Mississippi. We're going to the Gulf Coast right now.
Okay.
To Moss Point and Gulfport, and these are areas that it's real interesting that we're doing this right after a hurricane hit, because these are areas that we really first started doing work in right after Hurricane Katrina, which was our first experience at doing hurricane relief work. And we tried to get to New Orleans, and that was our first time getting a big old bus to drive around to do relief work. We couldn't get to New Orleans, but on the way there, we made all these connections with communities, black communities along the Gulf Coast, who were doing incredible work of helping our folks to survive. And so we've maintained relations, especially LaTosha, ever since then. And so we're going there to do some GOTV rallies.
All right, and you all are doing excellent work. I'm very, very, and I speak on behalf of all of us. The work you're doing is great. I know the entire nation is thankful for it. It's very, very important. Glad you all are hanging in there. But the bottom line is those seniors were able to go back in the subsequent days and vote. Correct? Most of them.
That's correct. Most if not all. And that's an important point, because some people, on social media or elsewhere, some people have been of the opinion that if they went back, this can't be voter suppression because they went back, right? Because they ultimately got the vote. And people have got to understand that that's completely besides the point, right? It's still voter suppression.
It's still suppression, right. Because just because they were able to go back, how many people were able to go back in the first place? They shouldn't have been turned away. You don't know. People have realities in their life. Some people can't go back. Some people are totally discouraged. Some people aren't allowed to go back. So, it's suppression. You ought to be able to go vote. When you go vote, then you ought to be able to go straight up and vote with no encumbrance, unencumbered.
Our whole experience is full of this type of suppression. When they close our polling places, we may still wind up going vote at another polling place, but that's still suppression, right?
Yeah.
When they have police intimidation at the polling place, many of us will go in spite of that, right? But that's still suppression. So just because we overcome your suppression doesn't mean that it's not voter suppression.
No, folks, the bottom line, I think a lot of us get confused. They have not stopped doing all the things they've done in the past century to undermine our right to vote. They've not stopped doing those things at all, one bit. And so we can't be naive about that. Black Voters Matter, MTR on Twitter. Ms. LaTosha Brown also on Twitter. Very, very proud of you both. Thank you. We will be talking again, okay?
Thank you,
Mark. And we're going to stay in close touch. Thanks, LaTosha.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate you giving us this platform and having to get the word out. Won't stop, can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. That's right. Can't stop, won't stop. Get out the vote. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mark. Love you.
Take it. Love you too. All right, folks. They're on the road down there with Black Voters Matter, getting people out to vote. This is suppression in its purest sense and in its purest form. That's all this is. Whole group of seniors can't go vote because they decide, well, this looks like something else. It's like a political rally. Just because they were brought on the bus. Be ready for it. Early vote. So if there's any monkey business, you can go back and do it again, like most of these seniors had to do. They shouldn't have had to do that in the first place. 866-99-SERIOUS, 866-997-4748. We'll have the chair of the Democratic Party on shortly, in about 15 minutes. Let's get a few calls in. 866-99-SERIOUS, 866. No, we don't. That's no. You need to update. But 866-997-4748. Lee's in Florida. Lee, God bless you. Good morning. Get woke and vote. Get ready for impeachment. Get out the vote. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Well, I was good until I started listening to your show, and it's just painful that in the year 2018 that this stuff is still going on. And what's even more painful now, we have a Supreme Court that will probably uphold a lot of these voter suppression laws. So we not only have to overcome the prejudice locally, but now we got to overcome the Supreme Court too. And I feel extremely sad for the Native Americans in North Dakota.
Yeah.
That whole situation is just ridiculous. They've been using the same ID to vote for decades, and now all of a sudden they want street addresses when there never have been street addresses. This thing is just outrageous.
Well,
extremely outrageous.
Well, you heard what Marco said earlier. Daily Kos raised the money to get whatever this new form of ID is that they want them to have. They raised the money for them to get it, so there shouldn't be an excuse now.
Well, it's a time factor now because 19 days is not a lot of time to create street addresses, create IDs, and distribute it. They're really going to be under a crunch. I heard the plan now is to basically for them to come up with a legitimate letter and having poll watchers that will pass out these, I guess, address letters to every one of them that come to vote. And they're trying to see if the Secretary of State in North Dakota will accept these. But the whole thing is just ridiculous. But anyway, initially you were talking about the Trump administration position on the Saudi Arabia and this whole thing with the missing reporter, and how Trump keeps talking about this $100+ billion arms deal that he doesn't want to lose over this. Well, since we don't know this, we haven't seen this guy's taxes, how do we know he's not invested in Raytheon and Lockheed, and it's all a personal interest more than anything else?
Yeah. Good point.
That's another reason why we need to have a blue wave so we can subpoena his taxes and we can get down to the dirt and find out whether or not he's just all of his positions are for self-enrichment and enrichment of his crime family and not for the good of the American people.
So just to update you on the Native American piece, in order to vote, the law requires documentation of a residential address. Native Americans living on reservations often don't have residential addresses because the Postal Service doesn't deliver mail to them. Instead, they use P.O. boxes. But now IDs with a P.O. box aren't valid for voting. Fortunately, tribal identification is accepted at the polls. So Daily Kos teamed up with North Dakota Native Vote, an organization working with local tribes to provide free updated identification cards or address verification documents to tribal citizens. They raised $100,000 overnight to fund efforts to reach every eligible Native American voter in North Dakota. So that's good news. They were able to do that. That's a good thing.
I'm hoping that they're extremely successful because it's outrageous. But I tell you, the one thing I found strange, I believe, and I can't remember if this is in North Dakota or if it was another state, that the Supreme Court ruled on one of these voting rules, and I believe it was a 5-2 decision or 6-2 decision, and the only dissenters were Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Elena Kagan. So I'm wondering, where was Sotomayor on this vote?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one. I don't know.
Okay. All right, Mark. Well, thank you for your time. I know you got a packed show today, and please keep up the fight.
All right. Thank you, man. Right. Appreciate it. 866-99-SIRIUS. Let's see. Man is in Connecticut. Manny, real quick for me. Go right ahead. God bless you.
Keep going. Keep going, everyone. We're at the end. We can see the end, and we are going to vote these bastards out. And I understand the suppression, but you know what? It's time to put your face down and go and understand that this is what we're fighting, that when it's time for us to have power, we should have a national voter ID compact that is tied to your Social Security number. Everyone gets a Social Security number, you get a card that says that you have a legal right to vote in this country, no matter what that this is a legal document like a passport. All right.